That's what the hunters whispered every winter about the German shepherd that roamed the edge of Miller's Hollow, an old ghost dog that appeared only when something was terribly wrong. So when Sheriff Lyle Haddon found it standing rigid over a heap of rain-soaked clothes behind the abandoned rail shed, its ribs heaving, its eyes raw with something close to grief, he felt a coldness settle beneath his coat. The dog wouldn't move, wouldn't blink, wouldn't let anyone near the pile, and whatever lay underneath was still warm. Before we go further, if stories like this keep you company, you're welcome to stick around. The storm had broken sometime before dawn, leaving the fields slick and the gravel roads running with muddy veins of water. Sheriff Lyle Haddon stood knee-deep in weeds behind the derelict rail shed, wiping the rain from his eyelashes as he watched the German shepherd circle the pile of clothes again. The dog limped on its left hind leg. It wasn't an old wound. Blood still trickled from the scrape, glistening like dark oil. But what struck Lyle wasn't the injury. It was the way the dog positioned itself. Shoulders rigid, head low, lips drawn tight as though it was bracing against something unseen. Beside him, Deputy Claire Mercer tugged her jacket tighter around herself. "That dog's not wild," she murmured. "It's trained." "Yeah," Lyle answered. "I can see that." The clothes under the dog were soaked through, but arranged, not thrown or scattered. Folded, no, layered. A jacket, a small pink hoodie, tiny denim overalls. The colors were faded, but unmistakably child-sized. Lyle felt something twist deep in his gut. No sign of a child, though. No tiny hand reaching out from beneath the fabric. No soft, unmoving shape. Just clothing. Still, "Sir," Claire whispered, "it's guarding them." Lightning flickered across the empty wheat fields, whitening the rust on the shed's door. The dog turned its head slightly, just enough to meet Lyle's eyes. There was intelligence in that gaze. A plea, a warning. "Let me try," Lyle said quietly. He took a step forward. The dog growled, a low, trembling rumble that vibrated through the ground. Its front paws slid over the clothes as it pressed closer, shielding them from him. Rainwater dripped from its battered ears. "Easy," Lyle murmured. "I'm not here to hurt you." He crouched, letting his palms rest open on his knees. His breath steamed in the cold morning air. Claire hovered behind him, hand on her holster, not to draw, but to reassure herself. The dog didn't attack, didn't lunge. It just stood there, shaking, staring at him with a stubborn, desperate fear. Lyle worked ranches in his youth. He'd broken skittish horses, rescued half-wild dogs from barns and ditches. He knew this tension. This wasn't aggression. This was grief. He leaned in just a bit more, voice low. "Buddy, let me help." A tiny movement caught his eye. The dog's nose twitched. Its ears flicked backward as though catching something only it could hear. Then very slowly it stepped aside. Not fully, but enough for Lyle to see. He reached out and lifted the top layer of clothing. Claire sucked in a sharp breath. There was blood, not a puddle, not fresh, just small, tragic smears at the collar of the pink hoodie, the sort of blood left by someone carried, someone clinging, but no body, no child. Lyle felt his pulse thrum high under his jaw. "Sheriff," Claire whispered. "What does this mean?" Before he could answer, the German shepherd nudged his hand. Not angrily, urgently. Then it turned, limped a few paces toward the tree line, looked back, crying, not barking, not whining. A soft, broken sound. It wanted them to follow. Lyle rose slowly. "Get the med kit for the dog. And call Dr. Keller. Tell him to meet us at the station in an hour. You want to take the dog in?" "I don't think we have a choice." The shepherd limped farther toward the woods, stopping every few steps to make sure they were behind it. Claire hurried back to the cruiser. "Should I call this in? Search party, maybe? Missing child alert." Lyle hesitated. They didn't have a child's name, a time frame, a witness. Nothing except a wounded dog and a pile of bloody clothes. "Not yet," he said. "Let's see where it takes us first." He grabbed a flashlight from the cruiser and followed the dog into the dense line of cedars. The forest was quiet, not peaceful, but expectant. Every sound felt too sharp. Every snapped twig underfoot echoed like a warning. The dog led them down a narrow deer trail, weaving through soggy brush and roots. It moved slowly but with purpose, glancing back whenever Lyle fell more than a few steps behind. "You think the kid's out here?" Claire asked softly. "Someone was wearing those clothes recently," Lyle said, "and the dog's leading us somewhere." The trees thickened. The air cooled. A damp smell of moss and something metallic clung to each breath. After 15 minutes, they reached a creek swollen from the storm. The shepherd stopped at the water's edge, staring across to a cluster of limestone boulders. Then it barked. Once. Short, urgent. "What is it?" Claire murmured. The dog limped along the creek bank, nose down, tail stiff. Lyle scanned the ground and saw them. Footprints. Small ones. Bare. They ended abruptly at the water. Claire crouched, fingers hovering above the muddy impressions. "These are tiny, no older than 4. Maybe 3. Lyle swallowed. The German shepherd waded into the creek, crossing to the other side despite the current tugging at its legs. It looked back at them, barking again. This time the sound cracked with pain. "What happened to you?" Lyle whispered. As soon as he crossed a creek, the dog pushed its nose into a patch of wild grass beside a limestone rock. It pawed half-heartedly, then stepped back. A single object lay hidden in the grass. A child's shoe, blue, Velcro strap, and soaked. Claire pressed a hand to her mouth. "Sheriff, this is bad." Lyle opened his mouth to answer, but froze as something else glinted between the blades of wet grass. A necklace, silver, with a little heart pendant engraved with a name. "Lucy." Claire exhaled shakily. "Lucy Harper? Oh, God!" Lyle stiffened. He knew that name. Everyone in Miller's Hollow knew that name. Lucy Harper was a 3-year-old who vanished from her family's farmhouse 6 months ago. No forced entry. No signs of struggle. The entire county had searched for weeks and found nothing. People had assumed the worst. Others whispered things about the father, about the mother, about the marriage that was falling apart before the disappearance. Lyle straightened, scanning the woods. Why would her shoe be here? 6 months later? Claire shook her head. Clothes don't stay this clean for half a year. That hoodie wasn't 6 months old. Meaning Lucy was alive recently. Meaning someone's been keeping her, Claire whispered. The dog barked sharply, pulling their attention back. It nudged the shoe, then limped to a rocky slope, leading deeper into the trees. Its tail was stiff, its eyes fixed on something unseen. "We follow," Lyle said, but Claire didn't move. "Sheriff, what if the parents are involved?" Lyle paused. "We don't know that. Her father was the last person to see her. Rumors aren't evidence." Claire's voice dropped. "Then why did he pack up and leave town 3 months ago? Why didn't he stay for the rest of the investigation?" "People grieve in ugly ways," Lyle muttered. Claire didn't respond, and he didn't blame her, because the truth was something about the Harper case had smelled wrong from the start. The mother's story had changed. The father's temper was no secret, and yet none of it had ever fit together cleanly. He stepped up the slope after the dog, boots slipping on wet leaves. "Sheriff," Claire called, "what if we're walking into a trap?" He didn't slow. "Then we keep our guns ready." They followed the German shepherd through another 30 yards of thick brush until the trail opened into a clearing. A small cabin stood ahead. Old, sagging, windows dark. Lyle felt his heartbeat climb. "Who owns this property?" he whispered. Claire swallowed. "I think no one. It's been abandoned for years. Maybe decades." The dog approached the door, sniffing violently. Then it sat, trembling, whimpering, staring at the cabin as if begging the building itself to give something back. Lyle signaled Claire to flank left. He unholstered his gun and stepped onto the rotting porch, which snapped under his weight. The door was slightly ajar. Not kicked in. Opened. Recently. He pushed it with the barrel of his gun. The hinges groaned. The smell hit him first. Damp wood, mildew, something sour, something metallic. He swept his flashlight across the room. A table, 2 chairs, a mattress on the floor, food cans, and ropes. tied to a bedpost. Cut recently. Claire's voice wavered behind him. Dear God. Lyle's stomach twisted. Someone had been living here. Someone small. Someone kept. He stepped deeper into the room. Against the far wall was a child's drawing pinned with a rusty nail. Crayon scribbles. A yellow sun. A stick figure. A dog. A German shepherd. With the word, Buddy. The dog walked the drawing and pressed its nose against it, whining softly. Lyle's jaw clenched. Claire whispered. This dog, it knew her. It protected her. A floorboard creaked. Both deputies snapped toward the sound, guns raised, but saw only a shadow slipping out the back door of the cabin. A figure. Tall. Hooded. Running. Stop. Lyle roared. He bolted after the figure, crashing through the back door. Claire close behind him. Rain poured through the trees. The stranger sprinted into the forest, feet pounding the earth. Lyle aimed, but the dog lunged past him, barking fiercely, chasing the stranger with a desperate fury. Get back here, Lyle shouted. The figure disappeared over a ridge, and the dog followed. A moment later, a scream tore through the trees. High, sharp, human, then silence. Lyle and Claire skidded to the ridge's edge, breath heaving. But what they saw froze the world. The dog stood over the stranger's motionless body at the bottom of the slope, and the stranger was Mark Harper, Lucy's father, his face ghost white, his eyes open, his mouth whispering something Lyle barely caught. She's not dead. Then his gaze shifted upward, toward the trees, toward something behind them, something moving. Claire turned first and dropped her flashlight because a child stood there, in the rain, so small, so pale, her bare feet red from the cold, her tiny hands shaking as she clutched the pink hoodie Lyle had seen earlier. The little girl looked at them with wide, hollow eyes and whispered one word, help. Rain slid off the branches as though the forest itself was holding its breath. Sheriff Lyle Haddon lowered his gun slowly, eyes locked on the trembling child standing 10 feet away. Lucy Harper's hair was matted with dirt, her cheeks hollow, her small frame wrapped in the pink hoodie like armor she couldn't let go of. Lucy, Claire whispered, voice cracking around the name. Sweetheart, it's okay. You're safe now. But Lucy didn't move. She scanned their faces, then flicked her gaze toward the bottom of the slope, where her father lay gasping in the mud. The German shepherd, Buddy, stood protectively between the little girl and the dying man, hackles raised, chest heaving. Mark Harper tried to lift a hand, but his arm barely twitched. I never meant. His voice dissolved into a wet cough. Lyle approached carefully, palms open, speaking to the child first. Lucy, my name is Lyle. I'm here to help you. No one's going to hurt you. Her lower lip trembled, but she didn't run when he stepped closer. She simply stared at him with eyes too old for her age, eyes that had seen darkness most adults never did. She whispered. Buddy said to wait. Lyle blinked. Buddy the dog? Lucy nodded slowly. He told me with his heart, not with words. Claire knelt slightly, careful not to spook her. Did Buddy stay with you? A tiny, fragile nod. Always. Buddy's ears flicked to the sound of his name, but his gaze remained fixed on Mark Harper, who was breathing in quick, shallow bursts. Lyle stepped away from Lucy and crouched beside Mark, but not too close. What happened here, Mark? He said quietly. Where's the person who took her? Mark's eyes flooded with panic. I tried to get her back. I tried. You think I don't know what they said about me? That I killed my own daughter? That I ran off because I didn't care? His voice cracked as blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. I was looking for her. Claire glanced toward the cabin. You're saying someone else kept her? Yes. Mark gripped Lyle's sleeve with surprising force. Her. She took my little girl. I tried to tell you, but nobody listened. Who took her? Lyle asked. Mark's voice dropped to a harsh whisper. My wife. Claire froze. Your wife? You're saying Emily took Lucy? Mark coughed violently, body shaking. Emily, she wasn't well. She kept hearing things. Seeing things. She thought I was going to take Lucy away. So she hid her. His voice shook. She locked her in that cabin. Said she needed to protect her from the world. Claire's face drained of color. Emily reported her missing because she thought I would blame her. Mark cried, a sound of pure despair. She thought, if she played the grieving mother, no one would question her. Lyle's mind churned. Emily Harper had sat in his office with shaking hands and tearful eyes the night Lucy disappeared. But something about her story had always felt off. Too neat, too practiced. Where's Emily now? He asked. Mark's eyes shifted toward the trees, distant. She left. Weeks ago. Said she couldn't handle the voices anymore. She told me if I loved Lucy, I'd find her before the voices told her to do something worse. Claire swallowed hard. Why didn't you come to us? Mark's eyes burned. Would you have believed me? After the fighting, the custody arguments, the drinking? You would have locked me up first and asked questions later. Lyle didn't deny it. He couldn't. A low moan escaped Mark's lips. His chest convulsed. Claire moved toward him. Sheriff, she whispered, we need to call EMS. Now. We will. Lyle stepped back, but not before Mark's grip tightened on his arm one last time. Lucy doesn't know. Mark choked out. She doesn't know who hurt her. Don't tell her it was her mother. Lyle hesitated. Why? Because she still loves her, Mark whispered, tears blending with rain. And children shouldn't carry that kind of truth. Then his hand slipped from Lyle's sleeve. The light faded from his eyes. Buddy barked once, sharp, commanding. Lucy whimpered. Stepping back, Claire closed her eyes. Mark Harper's gone. Lyle exhaled through his teeth, a low, pained sound. Radio for backup. We need a forensic team. And someone to take Lucy to the hospital. She's freezing. Claire nodded and moved up the ridge to get a signal. Lyle turned toward Lucy, but the little girl was already at Buddy's side. Tiny fingers buried in his wet fur. Her shoulders shook silently. He knelt in front of her. Lucy, I'm so sorry. She blinked at him, eyes huge, voice barely a breath. Is Daddy hurt? Lyle couldn't lie. Yes. She swallowed. Buddy tried to stop him from falling. Lyle didn't correct her. Didn't tell her the fall wasn't what killed him. Didn't tell her the truth Mark had whispered. Some truths were knives. And this child had endured enough cuts. Instead, he said gently, we're going to take you to a warm place. With food. With people who'll keep you safe. Buddy can come too. She looked down at the dog. Buddy licked her hand softly. Okay, she whispered. But as Lyle reached for her, Lucy suddenly stiffened. Her head jerked toward the treeline. Then she whispered words that made the air congeal around them. She's watching. Lyle's breath stilled. Who? Lucy's small hand lifted, pointing with a trembling finger toward a cluster of pines just beyond the ridge. The lady with the humming voice. Buddy's ears pricked sharply. Then a growl rumbled deep in his throat. Claire turned, hand on her holster. Sheriff, there's someone out there. Lyle stood slowly, rain whipping across his face. Lucy, what humming voice? She would sit outside the cabin at night, Lucy whispered, and sing to the trees. Claire shivered. Emily Harper? Lucy didn't answer. She just clutched Buddy harder. The forest went dead quiet. Too quiet. Lyle scanned the treeline and saw it. A shadow, a silhouette, a woman's shape, standing perfectly still between two pines. Watching. He didn't think. He ran. Sheriff! Claire shouted, following him down the ridge. Branches slapped his arms. Mud pulled at his boots. The silhouette slipped between the pines, moving impossibly fast. Lyle tore after it, heart pounding hard enough to crack bone. Emily, he yelled. Stop. The figure didn't stop, didn't stumble, didn't even look back. She moved like smoke. He caught up just as she reached a narrow gap between two limestone outcrops. Lyle lunged, grabbing her jacket, but his hand closed on air. The woman slipped out of reach and vanished behind the rocks. Lyle sprinted around the outcrop and found nothing, just empty woods. rain washing away any hint of footprints. Claire skidded to a stop beside him, breath ragged. Where did she go? She was right here. Lyle muttered, I swear to God she was right here. Claire looked uneasy. Sheriff, Emily Harper hasn't been seen in months. People thought she left the state, maybe out of the country. Then someone else is out here. But Lucy pointed to her. She described Emily. Lyle pressed a hand against his forehead. Nothing made sense. Nothing fit. His radio crackled. Sheriff, this is dispatch. We received your request for EMS. On the way. He answered, copy. Bring them to the old Miller cabin off Ridge Creek. When they returned to the child, Lucy stood silently, Buddy pressed against her side like a living shield. The dog growled at the trees, slow and low, never stopping. Claire bent down. Lucy, honey, do you know where your mother is? Lucy shook her head. Did she ever hurt you? Claire asked gently. Lucy bit her lip. Tears welled up. She looked down at her hands, then whispered. She said I had to be good, or the woods would take me away. Buddy whined softly, nudging her shoulder. Lyle's stomach twisted. What woods? Claire asked. What did she mean? Lucy looked up slowly. The humming woods. Lyle felt an old, cold sensation crawl up his spine. The Harper property bordered the Hollow's old logging grounds. Locals call that area the humming woods, because when passing to the dead, hollow stumps made an eerie whistling sound, sometimes like music, sometimes like voices. Lyle crouched. Lucy, did your mother tell you to stay here? In that cabin? Lucy hesitated, then nodded. She said the humming was getting louder, and she had to keep me safe from it. Claire and Lyle exchanged a grim look. And did she leave you? Claire asked. Lucy nodded again, tears swelling. She said Buddy would keep me safe. And he did. Buddy pressed into her, as if confirming the truth. Lightning cracked through the sky. A gust of wind tore through the clearing, bending the trees. Claire shivered. Sheriff, we need to get her out of here. Now. Lyle agreed, but as they began leading Lucy back toward the trail, she tugged on Lyle's sleeve. Her voice was tiny, barely audible. Sheriff. Yes, sweetheart. There was another man. Lyle froze. What man? She looked toward the cabin, fear widening her eyes until they glistened. The man with the camera. Claire stiffened. Camera? Lucy nodded. He said Mommy owed him. He brought me food, but he scared me. Buddy didn't like him. Lyle's pulse slammed against his ribs. Lucy, he said carefully, do you know where this man is now? She swallowed. He said he was coming back today. Buddy growled. Deep, primal, unbroken. Claire whispered, Sheriff, someone might be headed here right now. Lyle tightened his grip on his gun, scanning the trees. Every shadow now seemed too tall. Every branch seemed like it could break open to reveal someone hiding behind it. The wind moaned through the forest, an eerily human sound. Claire, he said quietly, get Lucy and Buddy to the cruiser. I'll secure the area. Claire didn't argue. She lifted Lucy into her arms, Buddy limping close behind. Lyle watched them disappear into the trees. Then he turned back toward the cabin and saw something he hadn't seen before, a fresh set of tire tracks, leading into the woods. Still wet, still recent. Someone else had been here, someone who might still be close. Lyle's breath fogged in the air. A twig snapped somewhere behind him. He spun, gun raised, but saw nothing, only the whispering trees, only the humming wind, only the knowledge sinking into his bones. This wasn't over. It was only beginning. The woods felt different after Claire led Lucy and Buddy toward the cruiser. The air sharpened. The wind shifted into long, quivering breaths that slid through trees like something alive. Sheriff Lyle Haddon stood alone beside the abandoned cabin, rain dripping from his hat brim, gun steady in his hands. He followed the fresh tire tracks with his flashlight, each glistening groove a silent warning. Whoever the man with the camera was, he was close. Too close. A gust of wind rattled the loose metal sheets on the cabin roof. Something thudded inside, quick, Light, deliberate. Lyle stepped toward the door, shoulders tight, boots sinking into the mud. Another sound. A scrape. A shift. Someone was definitely inside. He nudged the door open with the barrel of his gun. The interior smelled of cold ashes and mildew. The ropes near the mattress swayed gently as if disturbed moments ago. Lyle moved in, slow and quiet. A camera lay on the table. A newer model. Expensive. He clicked a gloved finger across the power button. A red indicator light gleamed. Still warm. Someone had been using it recently. Recording. Watching. He scrolled through the footage. Lucy eating from a metal bowl. Lucy sleeping. Lucy staring at the cabin door, while humming drifted outside like a lullaby gone wrong. Then Lucy crying in the corner, Buddy curled around her, and a voice. Stop whining. Mommy's helping you. Lyle's jaw locked. That voice wasn't Emily's. It was deep, male, calm, practiced. He played the last clip. The man filming, his face hidden, breathing slow and steady. He whispered, "She won't survive long without me. I need her quiet." Lyle's stomach turned to stone. He tapped the screen again. A reflection appeared for just a moment, barely noticeable, off the cabin window. A cheek, a beard, a scar along the jawline. Lyle froze. He knew that scar. He'd seen it 3 months ago when he pulled over a logging trucker named Dale Renner for expired tags. Renner had smiled too much, talked too fast. His eyes never stayed still. Lyle had written him a warning and forgotten about it. But now, a whisper stirred behind him. Not a human voice. Just Buddy. The German shepherd had returned silently and leaned into the doorway, blocking Lucy behind Claire a few yards back. His fur bristled. His teeth showed. Claire whispered, "Sheriff, we heard something near the ridge." Lyle nodded, eyes narrowing at the last frame on the camera. If Renner was here, he wouldn't be waiting in the cabin. He'd be stalking the people who came to take his quiet. "Claire," Lyle said quietly, "get Lucy in the cruiser. Lock it. Stay with her." "What about you?" "I'm going after him." Buddy barked once, a sharp warning, and limped ahead. Despite the injury, the dog moved with surprising purpose, nose lowered to the ground, leading them toward the ridge. Lucy whispered from Claire's arms, voice trembling, "Buddy knows the man. Buddy hates him." Claire didn't hesitate. She hurried down the trail, with Lucy clinging to her. The forest thickened deeper. Lyle went. Branches snagged his coat. Rain hammered the canopy in sheets. Buddy led him toward the old logging grounds, where the dead stumps stood like hollowed sentinels. The humming began softly at first, that eerie, whistling melody created by wind sliding through the carved-out tree trunks. But tonight it sounded different, like someone breathing in rhythm with it. Buddy stopped suddenly, muscles stiffening. He growled deep, low, "Dangerous." Lyle lifted his gun. "You smell him." Buddy took 2 steps forward and froze. A shape emerged from behind a dead stump. Tall, broad-shouldered, a hood over his head. Dale Renner. The man lifted his hands, casually, as if greeting an old friend. "Sheriff Haddon," he said with a calm smile. "I was wondering how long it would take you." Lyle aimed squarely at his chest. "Did you take Lucy Harper?" Renner chuckled. "Take? No. I rescued her." Buddy snarled. Renner nudged the hood back slightly, revealing the unmistakable scar. His eyes gleamed with something unhinged. "You know how many children get ruined by their parents?" Emily was unraveling. Mark was useless. Somebody had to protect the little girl. "You kept her in a cabin," Lyle growled. "You terrorize her." "I taught her quiet," Renner corrected. "I taught her stillness." Lyle stepped closer, boots crunching on wet leaves. "Why keep her alive?" Renner shrugged. "Because she listened. Most kids don't." Then he smiled slowly. "And because the dog loved her, even when she screamed." Buddy lunged, furious. Lyle grabbed his collar just in time. Renner laughed. "Feisty thing. Never could get him to shut up. I hit him once, and he nearly tore my face off." Lyle gritted his teeth. "You hurt this dog?" Renner grinned. "Just enough to teach him who's in charge." Buddy snapped toward him, and Lyle could barely restrain him. "Lucy told us you were coming back," Lyle said coldly. "Why?" Renner tilted his head. "To finish what her mother started." Lyle's heart slammed against his ribs. Her mother wanted to protect her. "No," Renner said, voice darkening. "Her mother wanted to silence her. Emily was afraid the humming would take Lucy if she made too much noise. She begged me to help. She said the woods would choose her daughter next." Lyle stared, stunned. "Emily was sick," Renner continued. "She heard things. She thought the trees whispered secrets to her. She told me Lucy had to learn to be silent or the woods would claim her." Lyle's grip tightened on the gun. "Where's Emily now?" Renner shrugged. "Somewhere out there." His gaze drifted toward the deeper shadows of the woods. "Still humming, probably." Lyle felt the truth settle, like wet ash. Emily Harper was alive. Somewhere in this forest. Broken. Feral. Lost inside her own fantasies. Buddy barked again, desperate, as if urging Lyle to act. Renner slowly reached into his coat. "Don't," Lyle warned. But Renner only smiled wider. "You think you're the hero here, Sheriff? You think rescuing that girl will erase the things you failed before." His voice sharpened. "I read the reports. The boy who died under your watch. The girl who overdosed after you let her go home. You're no savior." Lyle's chest tightened. Renner knew exactly where to stab. "I protect this town," Lyle said quietly. "No." Renner stepped closer, eyes glinting. "You protect its myths, its ghosts. But the woods know the truth. The woods remember everything you buried." A twig snapped behind Renner. He froze. Lyle didn't. "Police!" Claire's voice cut through the air, sharp and commanding. "Freeze!" Renner twisted around. Buddy lunged. The shepherd sank his teeth into Renner's arm with savage, righteous fury. Renner screamed, shaking violently, trying to rip free. Lyle rushed forward, but Renner jerked Buddy upward, slamming him against a stump. The sound tore through the forest. A whimper, a gasp, Lucy's small cry from the distance. "Buddy!" Lyle fired. The bullet tore through Renner's shoulder. He stumbled, dropped the dog, collapsed to one knee. Buddy crawled to Lucy, who had run to the clearing despite Claire's shouts. Lucy threw her arms around him, sobbing into his fur. Renner stared at the blood pouring from his shoulder, eyes stunned, voice wobbling between rage and disbelief. You shot me. You hurt a child," Lyle said, "and you hurt her dog." Renner lunged weakly toward Lucy. Lyle fired again. The second bullet ended it. Renner fell face first into the mud, the humming wind swallowing the thud. Silence followed. Long. Cold. Relieved. Claire rushed to Lucy and Buddy. "Sweetheart, he's gone. You're safe." Lucy cried harder into Buddy's neck, trembling. "Don't let them take him away." Lyle knelt, brushing damp hair from her face. "Lucy, Buddy's going with you, wherever you go." Her eyes widened behind tears. "Promise?" Lyle nodded. "I promise." She hugged Buddy tighter, small fingers sinking into his fur, anchoring herself to the only constant she had left. EMS arrived minutes later. Deputies fanned to the woods, searching for signs of Emily Harper, but they found nothing except a single footprint near the ridge. Bare, small, like someone who no longer lived in the normal world. Someone who wandered the humming woods, lost them forever. When the ambulance doors closed behind Lucy and Buddy, Lucy looked out at Lyle with a fragile, hopeful expression. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded once. "No heroics. No grand speeches. Just truth. You're safe now." As the ambulance drove away, Buddy's head rested on Lucy's lap, eyes half closed but still watchful. Claire stood beside Lyle. "You think we'll ever find Emily?" He watched the trees sway gently, humming their endless, eerie melody. "Maybe," he said. "Maybe not." "What if she comes back?" Lyle exhaled softly. "The woods can keep some secrets." Claire nodded, understanding the quiet weight in his voice. The storm eased. The forest softened. The wind hummed a broken lullaby that slowly faded into calm. And far down the road, Through the back window of the ambulance, a little girl sat holding her dog, a dog who had guarded her clothes, guarded her life, guarded her heart until someone finally listened. Buddy lifted his head and looked toward the woods one last time, then rested his chin on Lucy's knee. And the woods, for the first time in months, fell silent